wrong this time. All Mike can settle is whether he knows a certain word, which might be like asking a 2-year-old to define calculus. Let's stick to facts. Sven? About Agnew? Nelson answered. It's up to you, Captain. Well, this is among Walter Brothers, gentlemen. Lieutenant Agnew was our junior medical officer. Brilliant, Sven tells me. But he couldn't stand Martians. I'd given orders against going armed once it appeared that Martians were peaceful. Agnew disobeyed me. At least we were never able to find his sidearm, and the men who saw him alive said that he was wearing it. But all my log shows is missing and presumed dead. 2 crewmen saw Agnew go into a passage between 2 large rocks. Then they saw a Martian enter the same way, whereupon they hurried, as Dr. Agnew's peculiarity was well known. Both heard a shot. One says that he reached this opening in time to glimpse Agnew past the Martian, and then he didn't see Agnew. The second man says that when he got there, the Martian was just exiting, sailed on past, and went his way. With the Martian out of the way, they could see the space between the rocks. And it was a dead end. Empty. That's all, gentlemen. Agnew might have jumped that rock wall under Mars' low gravity and the impetus of fear, but I could not, and I tried. And to mention that these crewmen were wearing breathing gear, have to on Mars, and hypoxia makes a man's senses unreliable. I don't know that the first crewman was drunk through oxygen shortage. I mention it because it is easier to believe than what he reported, which is that Agnew vanished in the blink of an eye. I suggested that he had suffered hypoxia and ordered him to check his breather gear. I thought Agnew would show up, and I was looking forward to chewing him out for going armed. But we never found him. My misgivings about Martians date to that incident. They never again seemed to be just big, gentle, harmless, rather comical creatures, even though we never had trouble, and they always gave us anything we wanted. Once Stinky figured out how to ask for it. I played down the incident. Can't let men panic when you're 100 million miles from home. I couldn't play down the fact that Dr. Agnew was missing. The ship's company searched for him, but I squelched any suggestion of anything mysterious. Agnew got lost among those rocks, died when his oxygen ran out, was buried under sand drift. I used it to clamp down on always traveling in company, staying in radio contact, checking breather gear. I did not tell that crewman to keep his mouth shut. I simply hinted that his story was ridiculous, since his mate did not confirm it. I think the official version prevailed. Mahmoud said slowly, Captain, this is the first I've heard that there was any mystery, and I prefer your official version. I'm not superstitious. Van Tromp nodded. That's what I wanted. Only Sven and myself heard that wild tale. But just the same. The captain suddenly looked old. I wake up in the night and ask myself, what became of Agnew? Jubal listened without comment. Had Jill told Ben about Berquist and that other fellow, Johnson? Had anyone told Ben about the Battle of the Swimming Pool? It seemed unlikely. The kids knew that the official version was that the first task force had never showed up. They had all heard his phone call with Douglas. Damn it, the only course was to keep quiet and keep on trying to impress the boy that he must not make unpleasant strangers disappear. Jubal was saved from further soul-searching by Anne's arrival. Boss, Mr. Bradley is at the door, the one who called himself Senior Executive Assistant to the Secretary General. You didn't let him in? No, we talked through the speakie. He says he has papers to deliver to you and that he will wait for an answer. Have him pass them through the flap. This is still the Martian embassy. Just let him stand outside? And I know you were gently rid, but this is a situation in which rudeness pays off. We don't give an inch until we get what we want. Yes, boss. The package was bulky with copies. There was only one document. Jubal called in everyone and passed them around. I'm offering 1 lollipop for each loophole, booby trap, or ambiguity. Presently, Jubal broke the silence. He's an honest politician. He stays bought. Looks that way, admitted Caxton. Anybody? No one claimed a prize. Douglas had merely implemented the agreement. "Okay," said Jubal. "Everybody witness every copy. Get your seal, Miriam. Hell, let Bradley in and have him witness too, then give him a drink. Duke, tell the desk we're checking out. Call Greyhound and get our go-buggy. Sven, Skipper, Stinky, we're leaving the way Lot left Sodom. Why don't you come up in the country and relax? Plenty of beds, home cooking, no worries." The married men asked for rain checks. Dr. Mahmoud accepted. The signing took rather long because Mike enjoyed signing his name, drawing each letter with artistic satisfaction. The remains of the picnic had been loaded by the time all copies were signed and sealed, and the hotel bill had arrived. Jubal glanced at the fat total, wrote on it, "Approved for payment. J. Harshaw for V.M. Smith," and handed it to Bradley. "This is your boss's worry." Bradley blinked. "Sir?" "Oh, Mr. Douglas will doubtless turn it over to the Chief of Protocol. I'm rather green about these things." Bradley accepted the bill. "Yes," he said slowly. "LaRue will voucher it. I'll give it to him." "Thank you, Mr. Bradley, for everything." Part 3. His eccentric education. Chapter 22. In one limb of a spiral galaxy, close to a star known as Sol to some, another star became nova. Its glory would be seen on Mars in 3 replenished, 729 years, or 1,370 Terran years. The old ones noted it as useful shortly for instruction of the young, while never ceasing the exciting discussion of aesthetic problems concerning the new epic woven around the death of the 5th planet. The departure of the champion they noted without comment. A watch was kept on the strange nestlings sent back in it, but nothing more, since there would be waiting before it would be fruitful to grok the outcome. The humans left on Mars struggled with environment lethal to naked humans, but less difficult than that in the free state of Antarctica. One discorporated through an illness, sometimes called homesickness. The old ones cherished the wounded spirit, and sent it where it belonged for further healing. Aside from that, Martians left Terrans alone. On Earth, the exploding star was not noticed, human astronomers then being limited by speed of light. The man from Mars was briefly in the news. The Federation Senate Minority Leader called for a bold new approach to problems of population and malnutrition in Southeast Asia, starting with increasing grants and aid to families with more than 5 children. Mrs. Percy B.S. Suchek sued the Los Angeles City County Supervisors over the death of her pet poodle Piddle, which had taken place during a 5-day stationary inversion. Cynthia Duchess announced that she was going to have the perfect baby by a scientifically selected donor and an equally perfect host mother as soon as experts completed calculating the instant for conception to ensure that the wonder child would be equally a genius in music, art, and statesmanship, and that she would, with the aid of hormonal treatments, nurse the child herself. She gave an interview on the psychological benefits of natural feeding and insisted, that the press take pictures to prove that she was endowed for this. Supreme Bishop Digby denounced her as the harlot of Babylon and forbade any fosterite to accept the commission, either as donor or host mother. Alice Douglas was quoted, "While I do not know Miss Duchess, one cannot help but admire her. Her brave example should be an inspiration to mothers everywhere." Jubal Harshaw saw one of her pictures in a magazine. He posted it in the kitchen, then noted that it did not stay up long, which made him chuckle. He did not have many chuckles that week. The world was too much with him. The press ceased bothering Mike when the story was over, but thousands of people did not forget Mike. Douglas tried to ensure Mike's privacy. SS troopers patrolled Harshaw's fence, and an SS car circled overhead and challenged any car that tried to land. Harshaw resented needing guards. The telephone Jubal routed through an answering service, to which was given a short list from whom Harshaw would accept calls, and kept the house instrument on refuse and record most of the time. But mail always comes through. Harshaw told Jill that Mike had to grow up. He could start by handling his mail. She could help him. "But don't bother me. I have enough screwball mail." Jubal could not make it stick. There was too much, and Jill did not know how. Just sorting was a headache. Jubal called the local postmaster, which got no results, then called Bradley, which caused a suggestion to trickle down. Thereafter, Mike's mail arrived sacked as first, second, third, and fourth class, with mail for everyone else in another sack. Second and third class was used to insulate a root cellar. Once the cellar was over-insulated, Jubal told Duke to use such mail to check erosion in gullies. Fourth-class mail was a problem. One package exploded in the village post office, blowing down several years of wanted announcements and one "Use Next Window" sign. By luck, the postmaster was out for coffee, and his assistant, an elderly lady with weak kidneys, was in the washroom. Jubal considered having parcels processed by bomb specialists. This turned out not to be necessary. Mike could spot a wrongness about a package without opening it. Thereafter, fourth-class mail was left at the gate. Mike pried through it from a distance, caused to disappear any harmful parcel. Larry trucked the remainder to the house. Mike loved opening packages, although the plunder might not interest him. Anything nobody wanted wound up in a gully. This included gifts of food, as Jubal was not certain that Mike's nose for wrongness extended to poisons. Mike had drunk a poisonous solution used for photography, which Duke had left in the refrigerator. Mike said mildly that the iced tea had a flavor he was not sure he liked. Jubal told Jill that it was all right to keep anything, provided nothing was A, paid for, B, acknowledged, nor C, returned, no matter how marked. Some items were gifts. More was unordered merchandise. Either way, Jubal assumed that unsolicited chattels represented efforts to use the man from Mars, and merited no thanks. An exception was livestock, which Jubal advised Jill to return, unless she guaranteed care and feeding, and keeping same from falling into the pool. First-class mail was the biggest headache. After looking over a bushel or so, Jubal set up categories. A, begging letters, erosion fill. B, threatening letters, file unanswered. Later letters from same source turn over to SS. C, business opportunities, forward to Douglas. D, crackpot letters, pass around any dillies, the rest to a gully. E, friendly letters. Answer, if accompanied by stamped, self-addressed envelope, using form letters signed by Jill. Jubal pointed out that letters signed by the man from Mars were valuable, and an invitation to more useless mail. F, scatological letters, passed to Jubal, who had a bet with himself that none would show the faintest literary novelty, for disposition, i.e. gully. G, proposals of marriage, and propositions less formal, file. H, letters from scientific and educational institutions, handle as under E. If answered, use form letter explaining that the man from Mars was not available for anything. If Jill felt that a brush-off would not do, pass to Jubal. I, letters from persons who knew Mike, such as the crew of the Champion, the President of the United States, and others. Let Mike answer as he pleased. Exercise in penmanship would be good, and exercise in human relations even better. If he wanted advice, let him ask. This cut the answers to a few for Jill, seldom even one for Mike. Jill found that she could skim and classify in about 1 hour each day. The first 4 categories remained large. Category G was very large following the stereocast from the palace, then dwindled. Jubal cautioned Jill that, while Mike should answer letters only from acquaintances, mail addressed to him was his. The third morning after the system was installed, Jill brought a letter, category G, to Jubal. The ladies and other females, plus misguided males, who supplied this category usually included pictures alleged to be of themselves. Some left little to the imagination. This letter enclosed a picture which left nothing to the imagination, then stimulated fresh imaginings. Jill said, "Look at this, boss. I